You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Matt McGachy, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians. We talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. If you've ever wanted to sneak backstage and share a beer with one of your favorite musicians, well, Vox and Hops is the podcast for you. This week on the podcast, I dropped a killer episode with Kelly Schaefer of Atheist. There is this episode and over 440 other ones to help you enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. So what are you waiting for? It's time to become a Vox and Hops head. Cheers.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Thank you so much for hanging out. This is the last episode for July, which means that I'm knocking on the door of 35, which is kind of weird if I'm being totally honest. What a strange journey it has been. But anyway, I'm here with another GearFest episode for you. This one I've been wanting to do for a very long time, since last year at GearFest, actually. Today, I'm talking to Dan and Mark from Ashdown. The Gooday family have ran Ashdown for a long time, and they have a very, very interesting story that I don't think very many people know, especially on this side of the pond. So I wanted to get them both on to tell that tale, talk about manufacturing, talk about their approach to things, and just get right into it. So we sat in Mr. Mitch Gallagher's office to record this episode, so it's going to sound a little different. I was working with some unfamiliar microphones and gear and whatnot, but I think you're going to really enjoy the conversation. We really, really had a good chat, and I want to implore you to check out the Ashdown stuff. They're not as well known on this side of the pond, but they make incredible gear, and they are very, very cool people. Plus, Dan was the reason that I got to interview Shavo from System of a Down at the last GearFest. Really cool people, excellent gear. Let's stop talking so I can start talking. Please enjoy this conversation with Mark and Dan from Ashdown Engineering. Here we go. All right, we're here at GearFest. And I got mics in my face, so I can't see you as good, but that's okay. I'm here with a father and son team from Ashdown. Yeah. I've been wanting to interview you guys for a long time, so this is kind of a cool way to get to do it. And we got our technical stuff sorted out, it looks like. So
good.
Really
Thanks
excited
for having us.
Yeah, really excited to have you guys. We have a mutual friend in Mr. Joe Branton.
Indeed.
And I don't know. I think the best place would be to what's the Ashdown story? I know it's deep, and I know you've been in the business for a long, long time, and now it's a family affair.
Yeah.
How, I don't try to condense it to the best of your abilities, but let's start from
I'll
the early
go
stage.
right back at the beginning, and I got asked to re-engineer a lot of the metalwork for Trace Elliot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a metalworker. I make things, always have done, design and make things. And the owner said, look, come and do this. So I re-engineered nearly all their metalwork, redesigned everything. And then he said, man, can you come and work for me? I went, you can't afford me. I was running an engineering company and earning good money. But he made me a good offer, then snuck around my house and saw my wife and said, this is,
Really?
Yeah. It was a bit of a shock. I was like, whoa, man. Fred's an absolutely lovely gentleman. He's passed away, sadly.
Mm-hmm.
And he persuaded my wife that my future was with him and that he was going to give me earnings, shares, everything. It's like, and I got home. It's like, what's happening? I mean, you need to move company. So I took a pay drop, got made the production director immediately, and got a crap car. I was driving around a lovely car, and he gave me this piece of rubbish. And but there was shares, there were options, and within the first year, we'd saved so much money for him, he couldn't pay me. So they gave me 25% of the company as payment. So that's how I kind of got into it and owning part of Trace Elliot. We built Trace Elliot massively. It was fantastic. We were employing 200 staff at one stage and making everything in England, which was its demise back then to a degree, to manufacture in England, not go offshore and too proud, a bit like a few other companies. We said, no, we're going to make it in England. But it was brilliant. It was a great time. We got to meet massive endorsees, did a lot of stuff. And it helped me learn so much about the industry, and met a load of amp builders, a load of guys, and we had an incredible factory. And that was the Trace days. The bright green thing was my fault. It wasn't that bright green when I took over. We used to build the amps, all the early amps in the early 80s. If you open them up, they'll have my signature in because I'd inspect every single amp, test most of the amps after it had been tested by the test guys. And we have staff that work for Ashdown today that were working at Trace Elliot. When they were, Chris is 15 years ago? It was 15 years when he was working.
16 years old when he officially started working at Trace Elliot. He's 54 now.
Wow.
So with that, I mean, and for me, having a unique element I've not known anything different. I've grown up in the world of amplification, and for me, it's been my everything. And then when my father left or was forced out of Trace Elliot, because he sold Trace Elliot to Command Music Corporation back in 1982, 92, sorry. And then subsequently, they decided that time was right for them they needed to get out of the amplification and the musical instrument world and concentrate on their K-Mac helicopter at the time.
Okay.
Which
Fortune
was
500 company here, absolutely amazing company. And they closed nearly everything down. The Command String Company, Hamer, Ovation, everything changed. We were a big distribution company in England doing Gibraltar, Takamine, Ovation, everything.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, fire everyone. Cash is king. Get rid of all the stock. So we did. And we got rid of about 50 people that we'd just taken on to start this Central European distribution company. And it's the right thing. You look at everyone today. If Command had stayed with that central distribution, they'd own Europe much better and prices. But they ran out of money. The helicopter company needed money. So it's like, stop. And then, of course, you kind of know what's coming. I was the most expensive person in the company.
Sure.
Bye.
See you later.
Yeah, and my contract was up. It was 10 days to my 5 years of employment with Command. So it was a bit of a shock to suddenly go home. 14 years of Trace Elliot, building the company up to possibly the biggest bass amp company in the world back then. We and 200 staff. And
it's a lot of staff. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and to go home with no job and nothing, and I had my keys back to the mortgage company going, you may as well take my house, I can't pay that.
Mm-hmm.
And very fortunately, I'd wanted to change Trace Elliott's sound. Trace Elliot was slap, pop, mids, Mark King, Level 42, etc., which is great, and it had its place. But that time was changing. Back in the 90s, and you're coming into the 2000s, there was a look for tone, and I changed some of Trace Elliott's sound, making some valve amps, making some stuff that was more tonal and not slap. But Trace Elliot was known for that. It was cuts, mid-throughs, slap, and thumb. And when they fired me, I went, right, okay, I'm going to do this. I settled out of court with them. They paid me some money, not a lot. And 6 months gardening leave where I designed the range with some friends as well, made all the prototypes, still all the original hand drawings of everything we did, and made a whole new range. I sent a picture to my Japanese distributor that I'd known for years, and they sent me a letter of credit, a reasonable sum for the first order. Anything I made, they were going to buy.
Whoa.
So I owe them a lot. And then I owe John Entwistle a shitload because that man just came on board. Send it down. So I built one night, and Dan will remember this. And I'd sit behind the sofa at home watching TV and build a couple of amps, and then go down to John's house. And I built one 2 or 3 in the morning and took it down there for him to endorse. And it blew up because I'd wired it 110 volt. It wasn't all there.
Right,
so
right.
Drove back embarrassed. Sorry, John. But he was a legend. He was such a sweetheart. And took one the very next day. And those two have been sold subsequently for quite a lot of money by collectors.
9th of October, 1998 was the year and the day. Yeah. It was John Entwistle's birthday. And you drove down to Corwood to see John on his birthday and deliver the first amp. And John's house, phenomenal property in the middle of the Cotswolds, called Corwood. Worth Googling if you want to see a property that's completely and utterly ridiculous. This thing was the stereotypical rock god's property.
Okay.
We recorded bands in there with him, and it's a band called Cast and
a few others.
Unbelievable music. But that was it. And then it carried on from there. John just used the gear. We built in some special cabinets, which then U2 and other people loved the cabinets, used them on their tours. So John was a catalyst to a lot of things. Then Mark King decided he wanted to have a different game, different sound. He'd come out with a new solo album, which he wanted all tone, fingerstyle. And damn, Mark can play beautiful fingerstyle. He's not just a slapper. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, he can play. He's got tone in those fingers. I loved it. And Mark came on board. And then for us, our biggest success globally to give us some image was Catatonia. Catatonia.
Mm-hmm. In the UK.
And that song was just on TV all the time. And she was there, and the bass player, Paul. Yeah, it was Paul.
Mm-hmm.
And just we were on TV. Every TV channel, we had this VU meter. And the VU meter came about because obviously Trace Elliot had the VU, the UV, ultraviolet light, so we put a meter in because you need to be visible on stage. And people looked at it and immediately it was a classic. You know, we got a VU meter and that was set up. You set it up to keep it clean if you wanted, but please, no one worry. Overdrive the front end. It grinds up. It's beautiful. It's a total fat sound. And we called it Ashdown because Gooday is a stupid name. To grow up with a name like Gooday is not easy. You know, everyone has to say Gooday, and the Italians love them dearly, but we're now Marco Buongiorno and Dan Buongiorno. But it's just, you kind of get used to this. But to grow up with that name was tough. So we called it Ashdown, which is my wife's name. And it kind of worked. Ashdown Engineering. I was into engineering.
It sounds good.
And the name, and we stole the badge from Austin Healey 3000. That double wing badge is the script. The colour is Austin Healey 3000 ice metallic blue and cream. So it is all stolen from Austin Healey cars.
Inspired.
Inspired.
No. Yeah, okay, inspired. We're a different industry, and they're not going to sue me today, probably.
No.
And that was kind of the start of it. Everything we've done over the decades in the Trace Elliot days was very much inspired from the motor industry because they're ahead of us. They have to be. Technology, materials, finish. Trace, we made this rubberized, steel-enforced, indestructible amp sleeve in the Series 6 that you could drive over. And that came from the bumper mouldings on a 928 Porsche. There was a company doing that. And this indestructible foam rubber. So we try and watch the motor industry in a big way on every level because they have to be first, don't they?
Electric guitar and bass has a history of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It goes hand in hand. There's something cool about classic cars and guitars. They work together. Everything about them's inspired, that aesthetic, that the 50s cool vibe, everything that comes from that needs to be echoed. And as with any musician, we listen with our eyes. I know it sounds bizarre, but we really do. It's amazing kind of to see the reaction of people that plug into an ABM head versus a Geezer Butler head. They're fundamentally based on the same preamp power section, but people think the Geezer Butler sounds better than the ABM, even though it's pretty much
it's got some other transformers in there. Give it a little bit more.
It does,
headroom.
and it has more alternative options, and the compression's not in the same way controllable as in the Geezer Butler head that it is the ABM. So there are differentiating factors within manufacturing. However, fundamentally, it's the same preamp and power section.
That was the basis of everything.
I won't say who, and I've told this story a few times on the podcast, but I know a well-known pedal maker who made an overdrive. And it sounded really good. Let me just throw my phone around. It sounded really good. Everyone in the shop really liked it. And they were like, well, we'll sell it for relatively cheap because it's not that expensive to make. Yeah. And they put a cool logo on it, and nobody bought it. Nobody wanted it.
Too cheap.
And so he changed the name, changed the graphic, bumped the price up, sold like hotcakes. Yeah. It's one of those ridiculous things that's just like...
Yeah, we get that all the time. And you've got to be very careful where you price point anything, where if you undervalue it, they ignore it.
Yeah.
So but you want to give, one of the things we always want to do is try and give everyone a good value for money.
Exactly.
And on top of that, we want to be green. We want to make our stuff last forever. Our designer, Big Dave, I mustn't keep calling him Big Dave.
Dave Green.
He's lost a lot of weight now. Dave Green, legend. He's been with me for 25 years now. He designed matte amps, some oranges, some high watts. Wow. He's done a lot of stuff in his time, and he's a legend. He's just a valve guru on every front. He's helped us out. And then poor Dan had to come in and learn to make things. So he moved into the company in manufacturing in the early days. But what Dan's got is an eye for design, detail, and as you see, tech. I'm getting too old, man. This is
I wouldn't say that.
2 notes on board. Yeah, give me an analog amp. But hey,
it is an analog amp. But it has digital features. It's important for me. I've had a very privileged position to an extent to be able to grow up in this industry, and I see it as such. It's not a burden. It's not a chore. I still enjoy going to work every day, and also getting to work with my old man. I mean, over the years from growing up, he was traveling a lot for work, but subsequently over the last 21 years of working with him, I've been able to travel the world with him. And it's not many opportunities you get to travel the world with your father in a working capacity.
It's
and
actually, a pain in the arse.
No, it's not. It can be. And as with any family business, you have moments of pain and arguments that will blow up. Because it's family, it's a different way to react. But after 21 years of working together, we've established a good working relationship. We trust one another in that respect, hopefully, most of the time.
Yeah. If Dave Green's watching this later, man, talk about arguments. If you want to sit down with a designer and try and agree something, we go around in circles for days, weeks sometimes. You know, you think you've nailed it, and he'll come up with this, then he'll come up with that, then he'll reverse everything round. And he's so intelligent, you've really got to sit back and figure out where he's coming from, because he knows where he's coming from, and he has a reason to get to this point. But that's what engineering design's about. You know, you've got 2 or 3. We won't have too many opinions, because you throw too many cooks in the pot, and you'll spoil it.
Definitely.
You know, there was a saying I was told by old Fred, who owned Trace Elliot, you know, if you put a lot of people in a room to design the best racehorse, it'll be a camel. You know, it's kind of that thing, because the camel does everything. It's fast. It does
designed by committee. It never really kind of works.
We kind of don't do that. We ask questions. We help support from artists. We do a lot of artist specials. We get feedback from absolutely everyone, and we try and throw it in the pot, take on board where it's going in the industry. And that's where all the ABM came from, the valve amps, the tone on it, the flexibility. When I first made it, I took it to the bass centre in Wapping, which was the bass centre. That was it. That was the place to go. Barry Morehouse, a lovely guy called Nick, tested my first amps and loved it and everything. But they've gone, the problem is, you know, what does it do? What do you mean? Sounds good. Yeah, it kind of needs to do more than sound good, Mark. You know, today you need features. And that's why the amp went from very basic bass, middle, treble, which Lee Scar loved, and me and him chatted about it many times, to an amp that ended up having a decent EQ, mids that you can control more, a compressor you could switch, an octaver. The octaver was always in from day one, you know, because it's called the bass magnifier, not an amplifier. Right. I wanted to magnify what you've got, not just amplify it. And the octaver, it just fattened the sound. So we always regarded ourselves as a SWR with tone or an Ampeg with definition. That was the benchmark. And again, taking what you had from Trace Elliot designs, the power sections, a history of absolutely incredible power, back-end reliability. And it grew from that, and the ranges grew from that. I think Ashdown's fortunate that Dan throws in all the new tech and the ideas now. Back then, we made the first Class D amp, Superfly. There wasn't anyone before us. We made the first neodymium speaker cabinet, which was made for, again, the late, great Michael Rhodes. He asked me to make an amp to fit in his Porsche Boxster. It was called a Boxster, and it was neodymium, super lightweight, 210, went in the back of his Porsche Boxster. And that was the start of many firsts. The problem when you're making firsts is you kind of breaking boundaries, and it doesn't always sell, you know, and
people don't know if they want it yet
exactly.
or not.
Absolutely, and that's kind of the point of innovation. But staying on point with innovation, it's very easy to make black box after black box after black box after black box. But with Ashdown, we've always wanted to make something that is aesthetically pleasing as well as sounding good. But it's always been about the product. First and foremost, it's got nothing to do with me. It's got nothing to do with him. If the product doesn't work and stand up for itself within the environments and amongst its peers, it's got no hope. So for us, it's product first and foremost. And with the support of some of the amazing people we've worked with over the years, we've been very fortunate to bang that home. But one thing you taught me growing up is it's about the product. It's not about the individual that's selling the product. If the product doesn't work, it doesn't have 10 minutes to stand up for itself, you know? And I think that's one of the things we'll always push forward within the brand, is its product first and foremost. And I think that comes through and echoes throughout the range.
You mentioned Joe Branton. Yeah, this guy's giving us feedback all the time. He's a character, amazing character. But, God, he knows his stuff.
He does.
And he can play, and he's been using our gear personally for years.
His first bass amp was, he went with his dad to buy and pick up his first proper bass rig, and it was a Mag 300 and a Mag 410 and a Mag 115 cabinet, a stack.
Yeah.
And that was Joe's first experience into Ashdown, and that was when was that? About 2002-ish, 2003.
He gives us a lot of feedback today because he's talking to players all the time.
Constantly.
Period.
Yeah.
So, he's become a bit of an advisor and helping us out with their marketing as well. A great asset to the company. So people feeding back's everything, whether it's the distributor, the retailer, the guys at Sweetwater are brilliant. They're always feeding back to us as well. We're happy. We just send us info. If you've got an idea, we'll try and make it. Some people send us some amazing ideas that are never, ever going to sell.
Right.
You have to take everything with a pinch of salt, but it's also inspiring to have that feedback.
We've got an artist right now that he asked us to design him an amp, and it's been going on for a year and a half. It's possibly the most expensive amp we've designed, period. Will we ever sell any?
Probably a few.
I don't know. But, and it's driven Dave Green insane. It's driven me insane. Dan's even more upset that it's not finished because it just got very technical.
It is pretty much finished. I've just got to change a couple of the aesthetics.
The band's tech came over as well, and brilliant guy. We hope it comes off, but it's really, it does everything this person wants, everything, which you'd normally do with lots of little add-ons. It's all in one box. And because it's all in one box, the signal passes better. Some of the things work better than they would as lots of little separates.
Mm-hmm.
If it actually gets made, which it's not going to be cheap, it'll be very intriguing to see what happens, because you're either going to go, damn, I need that, and it's a lot of money, but it does everything because this guy does know his stuff. The bass player is just truly incredible. But if it doesn't, we tried.
Right.
And that's part of the game. And what you do from all that is we'll learn facets of other points that might come out in other products. They might come out in a pedal. It might come out in a cheaper product down the line. I suppose like Formula One in the car industry. They lead what you get in your motor at normal daily car because of the recharging batteries. It's the same sort of thing. Using an extreme artist like this, and I will say he's extreme, it's phenomenal. Painful, expensive to do, but you got to do it because we're learning every second from that every day. And though Dave Green kind of knows everything because he's a genius.
Well, Dave Green thinks he knows everything.
Exactly.
I mean, it's an ongoing battle.
It's brilliant.
But Dave's not a musician, so communicating. He relies upon our input and the artist's input to get a product that's workable. So we'll come up with a drawing and a sketch, and then we'll sit down on the feasibility together as to what can be achieved. And then we'll argue some more, and then we'll actually get a product that works, and then we'll argue a bit more, and then have another revision of that same product. But it's a process that we continue to build on and work with. We love developing gear. We have to remain consistent in terms of the product offering. In this day and age, people don't want change as much as they once did. We need consistency amongst the branding, the product, and everything else that goes with it. And the way of being able to sell has changed. Distributors are a lot more wary about what they stock because we don't go direct to market. We don't sell to Sweetwater directly as such. We sell to a distributor who then sells and markets the product for their area. And unfortunately for Ashdown over the years, we've not had a consistent line of distribution here in the US. So for us at the moment, the US is our biggest growth market, but it's also our biggest growth potential. We're scratching the surface in terms of the US, but we have the support of some of the biggest US bands in the world you've ever been able to produce, from the Foo Fighters to Alter Bridge to Dream Theater to the Death Cab for Cutie
and considering we don't even have an artist relations person in America.
Right.
This is
done with a team of 8 people within Ashdown. That's it. Solely manufacturing. Myself, my father, Chris Bates, who handles sales, Georgina Tanswell-Lowe, who handles everything else that we don't want to do,
Dave,
and then Joe Brampton, Dave, Guy, and Joe, and that's it.
So we are.
My mum still takes care of the accounts. She holds the purse strings, as is the most important.
We still shipped 28,000 units last year, so we're doing all right, and we make a lot in England. All the big valve amps, all the big ABMs, We still make custom cabinets. We just did a massive rig for Youth of Killing Joke. He wanted something custom to go back to their 30th anniversary. So we built in that. And that's, again, another experience. We learn all the time.
And with Guy Pratt, Guy replaced Roger Waters in Pink Floyd for the Division Bell tour originally, after working with various different bands. And subsequently, Guy's gone on to be a great ambassador for our products. And I mean, Guy came over on Monday before we flew out here, just for an hour or two, driving up from Brighton to just have a cup of coffee and a catch-up. We built him a signature head called the Interstellar 600, which is inspired by the old WEM gear, but it's effectively an ABM in a new fresh box and style to match what he's doing with the Saucer Full of Secrets currently, and that aesthetic, replicating all of that early Pink Floyd. For me, that was
the two columns are amazing.
The column cabinets as well, the 3x10s.
Check out the 3x10, because when you think you've got something that takes up that much 10-inch floor space that's basically performs like a 410, and it's high up, portable, little wheels. This cabinet, I think, should be on every jazz club stage in the world, because it projects, it's tight, it's got everything.
But inspired by the columns of old, those old PA columns. And even watching today, like the Beatles Help documentary on Disney, I was never a huge Beatles fan, I have to admit. But watching the documentary, I really fell in love with the way that was all conceived, and also the equipment they used at the time within the studio. Seeing the old Fender columns and everything else, it was inspirational to have something that was vintage but cool. And we've just launched the Studio Mini Rig, which is it's a mini rig, but not in the way others tend to do mini rigs that are just toys that can sit in the living room. This thing's 250 watt solid state, can be perfectly giggable across the world. 4-ohm cabinet that comes with it 2x10s and vintagely styled, but it's got all the features that any sort of modern touring bass player could need, or beginning bass player. You've got a headphone output, you've got a DI output, and a switchable drive, a 5-band EQ. It's a phenomenal product. And again, going back to the repairability, you mentioned it earlier. With all of our products, we try to design for a design life of over 20 years to ensure that the products themselves can be repairable down to a component level. Now, that's not always achievable in some electronics goods, but the majority of our amplifiers, it is.
We've won a few battles with the UK government that our product won't end up in landfill, because in the UK you have to pay for recycling. So every ton you put into the marketplace, the UK government charge you for recycling it, and it's expensive. Whoa. We managed to win against the government that our product, we can prove without any doubt, 25 years, it's still workable. It won't be in landfill. So they've let us off all our UK-made high-end products. We don't have to pay the charge for recyclability. This, I don't know whether this will ever happen in America, but in England it's a huge cost, and the whole of Europe, you have to pay for recycling now. So all your trash, all the rubbish you put, we have to pay for. So the answer is to make our products last.
The companies have to pay.
Yeah, we do. As a manufacturer, we have a responsibility to ensure that our products don't end up in landfill now. And it's a big design ethic for us at the moment, is to ensure that everything's designed to
trying to get rid of plastics, trying to do the whole thing. Again, very hard, very expensive. Trying to do the right thing costs more as a rule.
Hi, I'm Vincent, and I'm here to talk about the Mercury X. My dad's always going on and on about how cool Maris is. He really went off on one about the Mercury X the other day. He said something about a 4,800 hertz sample rate and 99 preset locations in 33 banks, and something along the lines of the most advanced reverb pedal ever devised by man? That's all true, but I only care about one thing. This pedal sounds sick. So make sure you check out the Mercury X and all the other fine products at maris.us, as well as fine retailers worldwide. All right, Dad, now can I have my Pocky?
How exactly do artists get their music on Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Tidal, all these services? How in the world do you get your music there? Well, in the past, you had to use something called a record label.
But these days, you can use DistroKid. DistroKid is the absolute easiest way to get your music up on streaming services, and it's the most affordable way to do so. Not only do plans start at $22.99 for the entire year, that's less than $2 a month, DistroKid also does not take a cut of your streaming revenue, unlike some other services out there. Even better if you sign up by going to tonemob.com/distrokid. That's tonemob.com/distrokid. One more time, that's tonemob.com/distrokid. You'll get 30% off. That's right, 30% off their already extremely reasonable prices. So go to tonemob.com/distrokid and get your music out there. We are brought to you today by Sweetwater, specifically the Gear Exchange. You may have heard about this. This is a place where you can go to buy and sell your used gear. Maybe you got a pedal over there that's just kind of collecting dust. Maybe there's something you've been eyeing from the Sweetwater catalog. Well, right now is a great time to turn that unused gear into something you're actually going to use. Even better, if you sell on the Gear Exchange, you can keep 100% of the sale as long as you choose a Sweetwater gift card as your payout method. That is not too shabby because, let's be honest, most of this buying and selling we do is just to fund new gear purchases, and that is a great way to reach a wide variety of customers and keep 100% in your pocket, or rather on your pedal board. So go check out the Sweetwater Gear Exchange and turn that unused gear into something that's actually going to help you write that next huge riff.
Hello there. I'd like to introduce you to your new best friend, the Chase Bliss Audio Lossy. Lossy is a collaboration between Chase Bliss and Goodhertz. And it's meant to give you some control over those weird digital artifacts that come with very compressed audio. You're hearing it right now. All the changes that are taking place are strictly coming from my playing dynamics. I'm just interacting with the pedal and letting it do its thing. In some true stereo goodness. If you'd like some more details about Lossy, I'd invite you to head over to chaseblintsaudio.com. I think you're going to like what you find.
And if we're finding that in everything we do, it doesn't matter what country you build them in. Trying to make them green and correct is tough. Even the woods, it's trying to buy them. As the guitar industry, everyone's trying to do the right thing, and we're pushing that. We've even got our own buy a tree and into the Scottish Highlands, and we put
to
that back
offset your carbon emissions. You can now. There's an Ashdown Forest, effectively, that you can buy your own tree, and to offset any carbon emissions that we might have done. And we're going to be pushing that in a big way in the coming weeks. It's only just been set up, but you can plant your own tree on behalf of Ashdown and offset any emissions that you think as a musician you might have caused the world, from one tree to 20 trees.
We're trying everything we can to try and be as green as we can. They're very difficult. You drop tests in a cabinet and you can drop it from the back of a UPS truck or higher, and you're going to have some foam in there to protect it somehow. And that's how do you get rid of that? That's the
We've looked at
hardest
mushroom foam. We've looked at all sorts of different sort of
it's non-stop
organic materials that can be used for packaging. Unfortunately, with mushroom foam, it tends to cause mold issues depending upon.
I was going to ask about that.
Depending upon the package. So, like, it goes against the grain when you start putting a plastic bag inside a product that's then got mushroom foam corners.
So we've got rid of most of our plastic bags. We've got other.
They're all cotton.
It's so hard.
Cotton linen bags now.
I feel sorry for everyone in our game because you've got to transport it and it's got to stay in one piece when it gets there, and you don't want damp and condensation. A lot of this stuff goes on trucks, shipments. It's overnight. You've got to allow for heat in some countries, cold in other countries, damp in other, humidity.
And everything gets tested. I mean, the test facility that we have at the factory is phenomenal. Everything's tested down to like minus 30 degrees and up to plus or minus 30, whatever that is in Fahrenheit or Celsius. I'm really not sure.
It's tested to serious conditions.
Extremes.
And vibration tested. Everything has to be tested correctly. And then people underestimate the cost of making a product today. You've got approvals. You've got Bluetooth licenses. You've got FCC. You've got magnets. You've got everything, even shipping. Sometimes
RoHS, lead stuff, all the kind, everything.
Yeah, and you have to have it all certified. And most products today, every single little unit can cost 10,000 to get approvals.
Easy.
Yeah. So anytime you design something, you've really got to think about this. And someone says, "Hey, I've got this new part put in." You're going, "Whoa,
hold on."
That's a reapproval. That's a
huge
redesign.
Cost. So, and even people always say, even when you want to name a new product, one of our problems is we used to launch products because we love designing things. So we come out with a new product every 2 years. So we've been told off, our customers, the retailers, the distributors, stop. It's too much. And we relaunch. So now most of our products, it's 8 to 10 years before we update them because it's too much for people. It's also too much cost and moving inventory through, clearing stocks. It's a nightmare. So, we've taken 8 years is the max we'll let it go to. The odd high-end product can last 10. A big valve amp, you won't change it. There's no need to. Look at Ampeg and everyone else. Leave it alone. But the downside of not updating is you guys got nothing to say to talk about. You've got no new product. There's no press. You can't do PR. You can't get videos because it's the same old stuff. So there's a whole cycle that we've got. We've got, say, 5 product ranges, and we're trying to cycle them that something in a range or a range is updated every 2 years. And we've got to be prepared for the cost of that and the marketing of that and the support. But if you don't do it, the world, you kind of disappear. Yeah.
That's the thing. That's staying relevant in this industry is very difficult. And I think it's more difficult now than it ever has been. There's so much noise. And that's, for the consumers, it's kind of, I can see how it's a good thing and a bad thing because they've got a wider variety to select from than ever. But at the same time, from the other side of it, staying on top of all that, trying to remind everyone that you even exist,
absolutely,
is difficult to do.
There would be so much. You're not going to keep on top of it. And unless you're being seen, you're not going to be bought. So it's a lot of work for everyone involved. So we've slowed down. We've got too many ideas. We've got too many products.
But we've focused that recently and been able to categorize the line accordingly. And everything's designed to serve a purpose. We're not just making toys, they're tools. They're even today when we were launching, we've got this little CTM15. It's a 15-watt tube amp. We did it previously, but we've updated it. It's got an onboard load, so you don't need it connected to a speaker cabinet.
Very nice.
Headphone output, a valve-derived balanced DI output. So it's a desktop tube amp, which no one's ever done before.
That
for
sounds
basic
awesome.
And it really
the
is.
Tone's ridiculous. We had a young guy playing just now from Sweetwater, and he nailed it. He's just like, oh damn! You turn around. That was John Entwistle. You could hear the whole the overdrive, the bass, everything. This little tiny 15-watt amp but you play it in an 810. You do a gig with it.
Yeah, but straight into a DAW on the desk. You don't need it plugged into a load. You don't need to make noise to get tone. It's a great little product. It's not a digitally emulated bass amp. It's a tube amp.
That's what the guy earlier was saying, wasn't he? He said, wow, we've tried lots of other amps, but this just does it, and pedals and people that say they do it.
And again, trying to save money, save cost, but pass those costs down to the consumer is the key factor. Because I don't know, some people tend to make products and just put a price tag on it and hope for the best. We try to ensure that those cost savings, if we're able to make any, are passed down to the consumer. We run a fairly straight kind of open book with most of our customers around the world. And you're seeing a lot of these products that are on the market today using the same generic power module that's used in many bass amplifiers. It's an ICE module. We use it in our digital products because it's a go-to one. there's also other brands within our space that use it in all of their products, but charge 30 to 40% more than we are.
There's a big difference. Because we're so small, we can also operate on lower overheads and lower costs. And we don't have a ridiculous lifestyle, and we don't spend stupid money. We invest back in the company. And that is the great thing. We can react. We can run on lower margins than a lot of people and deliver a lot faster than many people. So it's nice being small. It has its downsides, because when things are tough, they're very tough, and your whole family suffers, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We've been through some bad times. We had a fire many years ago, not in our building, but a supplier. And I had to sell my house to fund it. It was like, it nearly put me out of business.
Mm-hmm.
And people miss that from a real small company.
Yep.
It was a disaster for the supplier. He wasn't properly insured. We were reasonably insured, but all our inventory in his building, we thought he was covered.
Oh, no.
No.
Oh,
we,
geez.
and I can't take him to court. He's a friend. He's done business with me. I wanted to take him to court.
Well, and how much money does he have?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
like, what are you going to get?
Point?
Yeah.
He was doing all he could to survive the fire as well.
Mhm.
The fire hurt him as much as us. And we learned some lessons from that on insurances.
And then 2 years later, we had employed an accountant
Yeah.
that then decided that instead of paying the suppliers, he'd pay himself.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, tell me.
So what he was doing, he was basically paying himself. So he was signing off on the accounts against the supplier, because he was the only person being chased for money.
Yeah.
He was dealing with the suppliers.
Sure.
So he was putting that money into his bank account. We get a phone call one day from one of our major woodwork suppliers saying,
Could you pay this?
could you pay this?
Yeah.
Oh, going to our accounting
You
software.
paid?
We paid it last week. Look into the bank account. That's not your bank account.
No, we had to track him down. He had 4 or 5 accounts, so it was very clever. He went to jail.
He served 18
yeah.
months, but stole 70 grand
Yeah.
from us in a 6-month period.
So they're the funds of being a small company, because those sort of numbers put you out of business.
That's so terrifying to
Oh,
me, because right now we don't have at Stringjoy, we don't have anyone in our books, and we've long thought at some point we're going to need to, and now you just terrify me.
It is. I mean, it's trust. It's putting trust in people.
And you've got to. I mean,
that's why Mum takes care of the
signs all the
accounts.
checks off, you know? Any money that goes out of our building, one person is in control of it. It's not the accountant.
Right.
And we trusted him implicitly. He was a lovely guy. We helped his family. We let his kids come and work to earn some money. We did everything with this guy. He was an absolute psychopath. Very, very clever man. My bank manageress loved him, thought the sun shined out of his backside. Everyone loved him. You know, we had tears in the office when everyone realised, Chris.
Yeah,
just the shock of this guy who was 6 months with us, stealing from us all the time, was
from the week he started.
He was part of the family, and he destroyed us. You know, nearly. Anyway, the joys of owning your own company, guys. It is worth it.
It is.
It is.
It is.
It is.
There's nothing's as easy as it seems. Everyone thinks you've got a great time and you're doing all this. It is, but it's business and things go wrong. Same as when people, why don't you change factory, move somewhere cheaper? You just don't want to change factory. The problems.
I'm relating to you. We're like, we were going to have to move. Fortunately, we don't have to move for a couple of years. But I thought I was going to be move this summer, the Nashville shop, and that was going to suck.
Oh, man. Everything goes wrong, and especially if you were, say, moving a foreign factory, say in China to another factory. I spent months and months back and forth in China teaching them how to glue a cabinet, teaching them how to sand a cabinet. I mean, literally, and you go back a week later and they'd forgotten. It's a lot different today. I mean, the whole of Indonesia, China, Korea, the manufacturing has stepped up. I've been doing it out there for 25, 30 years, and I did have to teach them how to do everything. But today, but if you move factory, they've got to learn your quality controls, your systems, your testing, and it's not going to work straight away. There's nothing you can do to absolutely guarantee that move. And the factory in China we're with, they're family business. He's been with us for 20 years now. And lovely, they believe that we've made their company what it is today, and they make a lot of product today. But they're a family. People kind of miss that. They kind of look at Indonesia and China, mass production, nothing. But they're all families.
And that was all handmade.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have robots making amps. It's impossible. We have auto insertion machines for some PCBs, but everything else is handmade.
And we're not mass volume. So that's not, it's, we don't say, let's buy 1,000 of them, 300 of those. We're going to make 20 off, 50 off, 100 off maximum. So we don't make mass numbers.
With the UK stuff, we build to order in the UK. So everything's done in that sense.
we'll make 10 off valve amps at a time. That's it. We'll make 10 of that, 10 of that. We'll run the parts, keep it going, and we'll just build them. And nearly always to order. We don't carry finished goods in stock. So, but the parts are there. And you can turn an amp around in a couple of days. So an artist rings up. Same as if an artist rings up, saying, "Can I have a different color panel? Can I have a different valve sound? Can you put different tubes in?" The answer is yes. And
we tend to stick to the core product. And as I mentioned earlier, it's all about the product. And fortunately, when we came to market in '97 with the ABM, it was unique. And today, that ABM is fundamentally the same as it was then. It hasn't changed dramatically. It's still got the same features, still got the same core tone that we've kind of
still got the same transformers, same UK transformer makers, same parts, same components. You got to keep consistency. We keep trying to update it, and it gets a little tweak, but you can't do anything major to your core product. It is what it is.
Especially not in this business. People don't like that.
No, definitely not change.
Once you've gotten a thing, they want that thing.
Yep.
And I feel that way about certain things too. Like it can be a bit stifling at times creatively. Yeah. But at the same time, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
And completely right.
We keep looking at the drawing board and thinking, what could we do here? And then it's just a case of it's still selling. People still like it. People are still only just hearing about it.
That's the shot.
And like with us having the inconsistent distribution, the inconsistent representation here, we're finding today that people still haven't heard of Ashdown in the USA.
Yeah, that's a hell of a shot when a bass player say, never heard of your company. And you go, but we're 28 years old nearly. It's like, wow. And that's the size of the problem in America. America is so big. And
it gives me some perspective because we've been around almost 10 years and we're just now getting to the point where people have heard of us.
Wow. Yeah, exactly. It's tough.
It does take time.
And we've never been in Guitar Center. So you've got 300 stores across America that we've never been represented in.
And we were on some of the biggest tours in the world, from U2 to Black Sabbath to the Foo Fighters. Nate's used our equipment since buying an ABM 600 from Base Northwest in Seattle, from Evan in Base Northwest in Seattle in 2001. And subsequently, Nate's used Ashdown ever since. It's been on every Foo Fighter tour subsequently, and we're very fortunate for those relationships, but it doesn't matter. They still don't know who we are.
That's tough, isn't it?
It's very tough.
And to get into a Guitar Center store, we're not an American company. So your kind of American products, I understand, completely come first.
But with the fine folk here at Sweetwater, they've represented the brand. They got the story. They got the whole family ethic, that whole strive to innovate and deliver in terms of the products we do. Well, six years now with the guys here, and they've been growing the brand significantly throughout the US. And it's one place that we'll continue to focus our efforts in terms of growth opportunity and support. The guys do an incredible job here at building brands and establishing relationships with brands and growing them together.
But we do want to get into a lot more US stores. So, I'm happy to walk around the country and pop in and see people.
The independence is so important.
Chicago
in the UK,
Chicago, I'd love to be in there. Great people. We're going to have to go and spend some time and get it going and keep them happy. So there's so many stores in America that we could do with being in.
It's kind of crazy to think about. I don't know what the exact number is. I don't think anybody really does. Right. But it's like somewhere around like 4,000 stores. Which is bananas.
Isn't it? Yeah. I mean, considering in the UK, there's probably about 150.
And today, no one can afford to travel because fuel is so expensive to travel, running cars. So the salespeople aren't on the road like they used to be. When I was a kid here, in the Trace Elliot days, you'd get on the road and the reps would drive around with products in cars. COVID killed that even more, of course.
Yeah.
Even less reason now we can do it on FaceTime. You can't hear the amp in FaceTime. You can't feel.
We can produce some wonderful videos and content, but
which we all do today.
Seeing and feeling, as with our industry, it's about being able to pick up that guitar, that amp, plug it in, get a feel for it. It's all well and good buying 5 or 6 online and then picking the best one and sending the other 4 back.
Yeah.
I get it. But going into a guitar store, having someone that's got a knowledge for their interests, sell you something. I don't know. To call me old-fashioned, but I like being sold something with someone that knows what they're talking about.
That's why I remain optimistic for the future of guitar retail, even though I'm kind of bearish on retail in general, especially big box retail, is because guitar stores are an experience, and Sweetwater is 100%. Absolutely the best at bringing that to the online non-physical world. Absolutely. No one else does it like they do. But as far as a real store that you can go into, I think that we as humans will always crave experiences. And as long as that's an enjoyable experience to go do, which it will always be, then I think guitar stores are around to stay. I think it's going to be more and more challenging. I think they're going to have to be more than as I've heard some people call them, more than just shelves. They need to become experience. They need to become an experience. They need to become places that draw in the customers, not the brands pushing the customers. I mean, both need to happen. But it's for the longest time, some stores have treated brands as the only thing that gets people in the door. The store itself needs, like Chicago Music Exchange. If I go to Chicago, I guarantee you I'm going to Chicago Music Exchange. I guarantee you. You can't not. You have to go there. And why? Because they've done a good job at making it a destination. And there's stores like that all around the world. Yes, absolutely. We're fortunate to be in a lot around the world, but America's been the hard one for us. And that's where we need to get out and see a lot of people. Well, fortunately, about 87% of the listeners of this podcast are in the US. So,
it's the right area for us to be hitting. And Blake, thank you very much for taking the opportunity. And it means a lot. We again, as you know, we're tiny, so we're out there to try and grow us here in America and support it. Well, I think what you guys are doing is really cool, and the story's really cool, and that's why I wanted to get you guys on here to talk about it, because I knew this is the type of thing that people would eat up. So thank you. We can tell you so many stories about failures in bass guitar design, success in bass guitar designs, guitar amps. We try everything, man. It's great fun. It's a challenge. We like to design for others and innovate for others as well. There are products out there that we've designed that you won't know we designed for. And stuff we can't mention. But we'll turn the mics off. Stuff we've been paid for. We've been paid. It's great having a team that can do these things quickly, and the experience and. It's brilliant. Very lucky people. And again, thank you. Absolutely. Appreciate it. Well, you guys are welcome back on any time. Cool. Thank you. We'll try and do something. I know we've been trying to coordinate something from the UK for the last 12 months since we were here last time. And love to be able to do something. And if you're ever in England or anything like that, or find your way over, let us know. We'd love to have you by and have you round, make you a cup of tea. Absolutely. He drinks tea? Well, I do. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Even I don't drink tea. He lives I like tea. Oh, man. I'm struggling here today. Cappuccino, she's out, and I'm dying. I need a cappuccino. Great stuff, man. Well, thank you guys so much, and hope you have a good rest of the show. Thank you very much. Sure we will. Thank you very much. All right, everybody. Cheers, Blake. For Mark and Dan, this is Blake, and as always, folks, good luck and good tones. Alrighty, folks, I hope you enjoyed that episode. Please, please, please make sure you check out the Ashdown stuff. Please drop some reviews on this podcast if you enjoyed that conversation. And please share this with somebody that you think might get something out of it. Without you, this show literally doesn't exist. I know I say it every week, but please share this around. I would really, really appreciate it. And I would also appreciate it if you would like to get more conversations. If you enjoyed this enough that this really does something for you and you want to support the show, for $5 a month, you can go over to Patreon and support the show and get bonus content. There are some sneak peek GearFest episodes over there. There are extended conversations with the regular guests. It is a lot of bonus content. So if you've been thinking, I really like this show and I'd like to keep it going, that is a great way to do so. Also, if you can't do that, I totally understand. But like I said earlier, if you can amplify the signal, if you can get this out to more people, that would help immensely. So please share this episode, talk about it on the interwebs, talk about it in real life. It would seriously mean the world to me. So thank you all so much to everyone that has done that. Thank you to everyone who supports the show. And I will talk to you on the internet very soon. One last thing before we totally sign off here. I just want to remind you that if you do any shopping at Stringjoy, that's Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, that will help me out as well. As I've said for years, I'm heavily involved in that company, and I really do think they're making the best products on the market. So if you would like to try custom strings, go to tonemob.com/stringjoy
and check them out today. I seriously love what the team down there is doing. I help them out with all kinds of things, and by you supporting them, you are also supporting me as well. And hey, you need some strings, so why not get some custom strings just for your guitar and playing style? Again, the link for that is tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will take you right to their website, and you can do all your shopping through there, and that will help everyone involved out. So thank you very much. Talk to you next time. We are brought to you by the wonderful folks at Gun Street Wiring Shop. Yes, Gun Street Wiring Shop. I've talked about them before. I used to say based out of Bend, Oregon, but guess what? Sean moved to my neck of the woods. Sean's in Portland. Sean is awesome and has helped me with a bunch of stuff lately. And if you have wiring needs for your guitar, he can help you too. If you want to get weird with it, he can get weird. If you just need to spruce things up a little bit, there's your guy. He takes all the guesswork out of doing your guitar wiring, and he makes it simple, and his customer service is top-notch, and I can't say enough good things about Gun Street as a company. I really respect Sean and what he's all about, and the product is top-notch. I've got 3 different guitars that now have Gun Street harnesses in them, and I could not be happier. So go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out.
Hi, this is Paul Phelps.
And this is Monica Strutt.
And we're from the Daily Music Business Podcast. We're joined by a number of other really great hosts in creating daily content with great advice for independent musicians just like you.
That's right. We put out episodes daily on all topics from music marketing to branding, advice on signing with a manager and label, and anything else you need to up-level the business side of your music career. We've got it covered.
Subscribe to the Daily Music Business Podcast today on your favorite podcast catcher.
Subscribe today to the Daily Music Business Podcast on your favorite podcast platform.
Hey, this is Dewey Halpus, host of Peer Pleasure on the Sound Talent Media Podcast Network. Join me each week as I explore another long-form conversation with one of your favorite musicians, actors, comedians, or creatives. From Chino Moreno of the Deftones, John Gorley of Portugal the Man, to Fat Mike from NoFX and Ian Mackay from Fugazi and Minor Threat, we go all over the map. From Fall Out Boy to Slayer, Peer Pleasure has it all. Check us out now on Sound Talent Media.